Hello, I'm Paul.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Ben.
And welcome to the Film Busters podcast. The film show with no filters, no prisoners taken, loads of disagreements, but one hell of a love for cinema.
If you want to hear three friends ridiculing each other for an hour or so regarding their taste in films, then you have come to the right place.
In each episode, one of the team picks a film for us to discuss. It could be anything from a recent cinema release to an all-time classic.
So, strap in and get ready to get mad or get vindicated as we guide you through the murky world of being a film geek.
If you like what you hear, you can also find us on Twitter and Instagram using @FilmbustersPod. You can also find each of our individual accounts. I'm at Filmbusters Paul.
I'm at Filmbusters Adam.
And I'm at Filmbusters Ben.
If you want to use your eyes instead of your ears, you can also visit the website at filmbusters.pod.co.uk.
And if busting makes you feel good, you can also support us at patreon.com/filmbusters for exclusive content.
Alright, can we just get on with this now, please?
Filmbusters. Ben, I know we're in a little detour from our 1978 kind of journey at the moment, but oh my god, isn't it so relevant? We literally did Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and what happens this week?
Oh, Donald Sutherland, I know.
Donnie
Sad
Sutherland.
times.
I know, crazy stuff. I'm glad we got to experience that before he went, you know, in the honour.
I got to say something though, right?
Go on.
A, it's always tragic when somebody passes away. B, he was old. He lived a good life.
Mm-hmm.
C, and this is not a diss on the man, I would never get excited to hear Donald Sutherland was in a movie.
Oh yeah, I know. This is the crazy thing, like that he's done so many things, but he's never been Oscar nominated or anything like that. But he's seen as one of those like really high prolific actors. Like, what's his iconic performance? It's only Don't Look Now for me. Don't Look Now and Body Snatchers, right? That's it. Yeah, because of the meme, though. Because of the meme. Or for the young and Hunger Games. Yeah, I suppose. He's just like, I mean, he's great. He's solid, but he's kind of like one of those actors. We've spoken about Gene Hackman before. He's kind of that ilk. Well, no, Gene Hackman's far superior. Yes, I'd say. I mean, I don't want us to be dissing this man after he's died. No, not at all. But this is just talking about his stardom, basically. Yeah. Yeah. I think he was one of those actors who his delivery was in the dryness. He was kind of, you could confuse it for being one note and that meaning he's not a good actor, but he was a good actor. He just chose those characters, those very stern, forceful, impactful men. I like a bit of variety though. He was always the same. Yeah, I can't even think of many films I've seen with him in, to be honest. Well, Don't Look Now is always going to stand out. Yeah, like apart from that, Body Snatchers, Hunger Games, I'm trying to think of what else I've actually seen him in. JFK. I've seen JFK, but I can't remember him in it. He's the man who greets Costner on the bench, and everyone makes a big deal of the fact that he essentially is reading like 10 pages of script dialogue, which should be very boring from another actor, but he makes it compelling. I'm like, yeah, he does all right. He does fine. Listen, I'm not slating him. He's good. I like him. Sad that he's gone. And he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Oh, fucking, well, put a stake through that man's heart. Oh, God. Just to make sure. It doesn't matter. To make sure. It doesn't matter, he's dead, so you can do what you want. Do you think at his eulogy, Kiefer Sutherland will list out all of his proudest film accomplishments and he might mention Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I reckon that vain man will probably mention his own career. Oh, Kiefer's the best Sutherland, I think. Is he, though? I swear he's a piece of shit. Kiefer? What's he done that's wrong? Oh, I've heard he's a piece of shit. I can't remember. In the past, so I've always just thought he's a piece of shit. You can change my mind if you want. No, I'm not going to change your mind. I don't feel that passionate about him. I think, as an actor, I think he's good. I don't know anything too problematic about him. I mean, he's from that ilk. I'm sure he does have some. Let's have a look. I'm going to type in Kiefer Sutherland controversy. We're fans of doing this. I reckon his personality is exactly what his personality was in Melancholia. That real horrible man. But nothing's coming up. Nothing's coming up. In fact, he's a nice man. I take it back. There we go. He even says that his family were targeted by the right wing because of their left-leaning political views. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean you're cool because you're left-leaning, but it's an indicator.
Yeah, okay.
Here we go. 8th of May 2009. Kiefer Sutherland charged after allegedly headbutting fashion designer. That's okay. Was it a man?
Fine.
Let's check that
first. Probably pretentious.
Designer Jack McCulloch of the Proenza Schuler fashion house claims 42-year-old Sutherland attacked him after an argument, leaving him with a cut on his face in the early hours of Tuesday morning. I'll allow it. And
it was during an argument as well. It wasn't like unprovoked. Like
exactly.
Anything could have been happening. Yeah. All right, Kiefer, you're all right for now.
Although he does have a drunk driving conviction in LA, and we don't condone that though.
No drunk driving.
Considering how much of a cesspit Hollywood is,
they're all
the
drunk driving,
ends.
mate.
Yes,
that's
and
the
more.
staple.
I know.
Well, that's it. Donnie, do what you need to do in the afterlife. Well done for putting out those handful of films that are good.
Yes.
Right, everyone. Yes, we are taking a little detour from our 1978 round, and we're tackling two films that are very similar. One's a remake of the other. And it is... Well, we did Magnificent Seven last week.
We did.
So you had a wonderful review of that. And this week, what are we doing, Ben?
This week, we're ticking off a major, huge blind spot for the two of us. We are talking about Akira Kurosawa's alleged masterpiece and game changer for the film industry, Seven Samurai.
Indeed, from 1954. Very exciting. I was very excited to delve into this film. Were you?
I felt heavy with the weight of expectation.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Weight of expectation.
Honest up front, because listeners of the last episode, may have heard me say that I was going to go to Prince Charles, which is a very beautiful cinema up in London here, to see it on the Sunday morning. I did not make it. So I watched it at home like a normal human being would watch it. So I can't give you the big screen review of the experience.
Yeah. Oh well, I'm excited to delve into whether you're regretful or not about that. We'll see.
Okay. Yes.
We'll see. Yeah. So before we get into Seven Samurai, this is plug the Patreon. We got a Patreon at www.patreon.com/filmbusters. We can get exclusive episodes. You can suggest films for us to do on the podcast. You can come on the show. You can get wonderful bonus episodes. We're doing a bonus episode today, aren't we, Ben? What's it going to be about?
We're talking about our top 3 Japanese films.
Wonderful stuff. Because this is Japanese, basically. I mean, if you haven't got the link, that's what it is.
This is Japanese. I've been spending so much time with Japanese cinema this year.
You have.
Japan,
perfect time.
Overload. And with Shogun, the greatest TV show of this year. It's been all Japan Central this year.
Wonderful stuff. I'm looking forward to hearing some blind spots that I need to fill from you.
You won't.
Okay.
You literally won't.
We will see anyway what you've got to say. If you're interested in that, that'll be at www.patreon.com/filmbusters. Benny, should we go and talk about Seven Samurai?
Let's talk about all 7 of them.
Oh yes, let's do it.
It's hard to really appreciate the true genius of Kurosawa, I think, until you've seen a few of the films and then you've been able to see other films at the same time and be able to realize his visual style. My favorite of all time is really Seven Samurai. Then maybe Yojimbo and then Akuru and maybe Hidden Fortress at that. So it's not at the very top of my list, but I was impressed and I liked it. And it's really his visual style to me that is so strong and unique. And again, a very, very powerful element in how he tells his stories. I think he comes from a generation of filmmakers that were still influenced by silent films, which is something that I've been very interested in, having come out of film school. That the visual graphics and the framing and just the quality of the images goes a long way to telling the story and setting the mood. And you're not going to find really a lot of filmmakers that have the facile quality with the medium that Kurosawa had.
Right, everyone, today we're talking about Seven Samurai from 1954 by Akira Kurosawa. This is a spoiler episode. We're going straight into spoilers, no hanging around, so if you haven't seen it, you might want to go watch it first, or watch Magnificent Seven, and then come back. That's a good point. And then come back and listen to what we have to say in all spoilerific details. There have been more than a handful of people that we've done on the podcast before, and they're all from The Bad Sleep Well.
Yes.
So we've got Akira Kurosawa, who obviously directed this film and The Bad Sleep Well, but we've also got Toshiro Mifune.
Toshiro Mifune was in it. I couldn't even remember Toshiro Mifune. Was Toshiro Mifune the main guy in it? The young guy?
Yes.
Okay. I remembered Takashi Shimura more because of his bossy face.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, because he is very young compared to what he's like in Bad Sleep Well, and he's got the glasses on in Bad Sleep Well.
Yeah.
Changes your face when you got glasses on.
Yeah, it does.
And they've got very different personalities as well in each film.
Hence why Superman gets away with so much.
Exactly. But yes, Takashi Shimura, Seiji Miyaguchi. I'm going to be destroying all these pronunciation.
Sounded right to me.
Kamatari Fujiwara and Yoshio Tsuchiya. That's the best I'm going to do.
I will take your word for these other ones. I only knew the top two names.
Do you want me to do the plot summary? Have you got any
do the plot
facts on this
summary.
film?
Yeah, I've got a few facts. You do the plot summary.
Okay, you could probably cut and paste from the Magnificent Seven, but just change the place it's set, basically. So a small little village, they're being about to be attacked, and well, not really attacked. They're just being robbed by a group of people, and they require the help of 7 samurai to help them defend themselves against these people, and that's it. That's the film. Mm-hmm. That's the so-called masterpiece. That's the so-called masterpiece, yeah. So, go on, Ben, you got anything about this film?
I got a mixed bag of stuff. I'm just going to pull some strands out that because it's such a huge film. It's one of those ones where the behind-the-scenes story and information is so dense, and I feel like a lot of people may know it. If you're a fan of it, if you're not, well, here's some keynote stuff. So, at the time it was made, it was the most expensive film ever made in Japan. It took a year to shoot with lots and lots of difficulties. Toshiro Mifune infamously brought a gun to set because him and Kurosawa were feuding so much as well. I know. This is wild. This is the Wild West. Forget Magnificent Seven. This is the Wild West. The weather was chaotic. It was pouring down with rain. The horses were unruly. Kurosawa built the set of the village rather than using an establishing one because he wanted this contained real environment. So it was all very unruly. But it's regarded as one of the greatest and most influential films in cinema history. We know it because we've never seen it, but you hear about it all the time. It's consistently spoken about by various critics. It features high in top 10 polls and lists and things all the time. There's always references to it from directors from fucking Martin Scorsese to George Lucas. And it is regarded as one of the most remade, reworked and referenced films in cinema because of the standards that it supposedly set. And that's what's going to be interesting to talk about because we'll see some things that maybe were done here for the first time. Toshiro Mifune was originally cast in another role when there was only going to be 6 samurai, but Kurosawa realised they needed one really erratic, hyper samurai, so they created the 7th samurai, Kikuchiyo, and Kurosawa apparently told Mifune, I want you to improvise it as much as possible. Just go wild with your performance. And go wild he fucking did.
Yeah, I can feel that actually, yeah.
It was shot in... The battle scene at the end was shot in February in near freezing temperatures, and Mifune later recalled that he had never been so cold in his entire life, probably creating further frictions. It was one of the first films ever to use multiple cameras and to use a telephoto lens, which meant that when Kurosawa was filming the battle scenes, he really had to plan out exactly how they were going to look and have 3 cameras on the go at once so that when a set piece took place, he didn't have to reset and reposition. This was unheard of at the time, so it was a game changer, of course. And the long run time of the film is apparently meant to reflect the entirety of the agricultural year in Japan, from planting to harvesting, which is quite interesting, I thought.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess we should talk about some other things as we go along, but that'll do it for now.
Okay, wicked. First impressions. Do you want me to just go first?
I'll go first because you went first last time.
Okay, go on then.
I'm going to summarise it very, very succinctly. Almost every single element of Seven Samurai is better than what happens in The Magnificent Seven. But if Magnificent Seven didn't exist and you just watch Seven Samurai by itself, it's epic, it's sprawling, it's incredible for its time. It clearly changed the game. It was immersive cinema, which is a hard task for a 1950s film set in a world and a time that is so literally foreign and peculiar to me. I thought it was pretty breathtaking.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that. Shall I go?
Yeah.
Okay. Absolutely agree. Yeah, this is miles better than Magnificent Seven. I had a problem with like how little the characters were fleshed out in that last film, and I think it may have been underlined like how much they've really relied on the star power to get them by, because yes, this is longer, and I don't think you come at the end like knowing deeply the characterizations of each samurai. Still, you get your handful just like you did in Magnificent Seven, but my lord, it just shows you what having a layered, stakes-driven story can do to make you fall in love with these men. And the stakes are incredibly high, and you don't even know who these people are attacking, right?
No,
you didn't know.
No,
you did know in the first one, and it's like they hold all that back, other than that brief scene at the start. But you just feel it. These villagers are scared for their lives. Their lives depend on these men helping them out. And even still, they're scared of these samurai. They're like these downtrodden people who don't have any other options.
Yeah.
And it's like, stakes, man. This is stakes, something the other had none of.
True stakes.
And it's
true stakes.
It's crazy how much was like taken from this for that film. You know? It's just so many little plot points, but all this is just done so much better. And Toshiro Mifune as Kikuchiyo, fuck me, what an amazing character. It's like, how can they merge two well-rounded characters to create Chico in Magnificent Seven and just make him into an annoying person?
I know. That was very interesting to me that he was playing two of the characters from Magnificent Seven. That they created two fucking characters for him.
Yeah, exactly. And I enjoy Katsushiro as well as that young buck kind of young samurai character. But my God, man, Kikuchiyo is the best thing about this whole film for me. I loved him. He's so much fun. His energy's off the charts. He's a bloody rascal, but it works. What works as well is how these like group of men came into this town and helped these villagers. But unlike Magnificent Seven, where it's pretty much about the star power saving the day, they empowered these villagers. They all came together and made an army, and they all defended the town. Like the lead samurai, he was pretty much staying in the middle and just like barking orders. Pretty much, he wasn't really defending much of it.
He was like a wartime general.
Yeah, he was like the general, and it's like, fantastic. And it's not just like a handful of the villagers like the other one. They all came together for this. Even the women at one point, they were helping. And it's, just wonderful movie. If anything, it was a bit long. I have to say that.
I didn't feel the length because I felt it worked for the film. If the film wasn't laying out such a rich world, I think it might have struggled. But because it was doing so well at immersing you in the world, and every little sidestep, even the romantic entanglement between Katsushiro and the young woman, that here made so much more sense and added greater gravitas to the end of the film than what we saw in Magnificent Seven, which was we are now just going to shoehorn in a romantic interest and specifically at the end have our character say, yeah, go be with her so that you get your happy ending, Americas. Here, it was much more layered, much more detailed. We got so much more, like, I'm trying not to compare it to Magnificent Seven because, of course, it is better than Magnificent Seven. I'm trying not to compare it to that, but it just goes to show with any film how you can take a right path and a wrong path in making it. And here, everything served its purpose. Everything was rich. You really understood these men, these farmers who went out looking for the samurai, and all they had were these rice bowls, and then their rice gets stolen, and how much it desperately means to them to have these people come and protect them. And the recruitment process in this was far less corny than what we got in Magnificent Seven.
True.
Like, on reflection, Magnificent Seven's recruitment process is corny as hell. Even though it was still the most enjoyable part of the film, it was very corny compared to this, which was quite natural but entertaining nonetheless all the way through. And apparently it's the first time, and it's been sort of considered the benchmark moment in cinema that has meant that subsequent films have been able to do it. It's the first time that a group of heroes are assembled to then go and fight a villain. So they say that Kurosawa created this storytelling trope with this film, which is one of those things that you can easily be unaware of or forget because of all the subsequent films that have come before it. You have to owe a debt to the one who said, and this is how you do it. Because all the films that come later that try and do it, also, and some of them do it well, some of them do it terribly, but they all owe a debt to the originals. And Kurosawa doing it with this was really something. He has a complete understanding of what it takes to tell a story, which is dialogue, story in and of itself, how you shoot the fucking thing, and how you immerse people in the world. It's just like that. The Bad Sleep Well. It was a total immersion story. It's a whole world we knew nothing about, and it's an immersion story with it.
Yeah, for sure. It does feel very like ahead of its time. So much so, it's like it feels.
Well, just having 3 cameras on an action piece as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the storytelling feels ahead of its time. Just like the way these characters are interacting, the characterizations of Kukuchiyo, he just feels such like a modern day kind of rascal character that you just wouldn't see in film.
Very funny. All the funny moments are reserved for him for the most part, aren't they?
And God, man, if they were filming in February in winter, he's wearing just a nappy or something. It's like, how could they get away with that? It's like you would not get away with that these days.
I know. That cultural thing. It's why I couldn't have hung around in Japan in those times, because I'm not wearing that. But cultural. And
of course.
What was funny was that not only was he wearing that, but then he sticks on that samurai suit over the top of it for the second half of the movie to make himself look even more ridiculous. But that's the only image that I've ever seen of Seven Samurai. I don't know about you. Was him sort of screaming with that samurai outfit on.
And that's him when he's shouting at all the other samurais in the barn, isn't it? When he finds all the
when he
armor.
finds it.
Yeah. Because it makes you feel like, oh, this is when he's running into war. When I see that picture, but it's
that's what I thought.
Nah, this is just him shouting at the other samurais because he's just a lowly farmer. He doesn't understand the samurai way. But
I know.
This adds to the richness of this character.
But just to stay on Kurosawa as a director for a moment, because there's lots of things in the film that are worth talking about, but what Kurosawa brought to this, which the guy who did Magnificent Seven, John Sturges, is that what we said his name was?
Yes, that sounds about right, yeah.
I couldn't tell you a single thing that he did in that film that makes me go, that was well directed. Not a single thing. Whereas here, Kurosawa is doing all sorts that, forget having multiple cameras so that which is trailblazing at that time to capture things. He fucking does something incredible in this, which I wish every film continued to do now and should do it more. And this is where action films, for the most part, fail you in this day and age, is when there is an attack on a villain or an evil person or an enemy, don't focus on your hero all the time. Focus on the person who has just been struck or who has been killed or has been wounded, because Kurosawa does that with everyone in this film, whether they're a bandit or whether they're the people early on that the samurai are killing when they're testing themselves. That first one, when I've forgotten the guy's name, the leader of the samurais. He cuts his top knot off so he can pretend he's the priest.
Yes.
And he goes into that barn. You don't see the act of violence, but you see that guy run out and in slow motion drop to the ground and know it's happened. It makes it so much more real. If you had, like, modern day directors, what they would do is they would follow your hero inside with his sword. You'd see the whole exchange where he's pretending to be a priest inside there. You'd see eye contact between him and the child to be like, you're going to dart this way when I go this way. And then you'd see the hero swing the axe, but then you would linger on the hero. Yeah. Whereas by showing all the villains all the time, it makes it so much more real and more impactful.
Yeah, absolutely. You're one of the witnesses standing out there watching, thinking, what is going on inside there?
Yeah.
It like heightens the experience, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does.
Absolutely. I think his name was Shimada, that guy who cut his top knot off. But
Shimada,
even
yeah.
that, like, just that whole like section of the film, and it's like trying to work out what is actually going on. And did we just meet the first samurai? Because it doesn't feel like he's the first samurai. He just says he's this hungry guy who's not very good at fighting when he's hungry. It's like, is this the hero? Is this one of the guys? And then epic. Such a great little setup to show you how like great this guy is at just the strategist. He's a strategist, and that is pretty much what he becomes for the rest of the film, doesn't he? He's
Absolutely.
great at that.
And to jump to the end of the film, again, what Kurosawa does brilliantly here is, in what could be very, very confusing, because you've got different stages of attack and different times of attack, he keeps breaking the battle up to have a respite and have them literally, the characters literally tell you what the battle plan is for the next day, and draw a little map and have the circles with the X's going in it, so you're seeing the tally of casualties. It makes it real. So when they say, there's a moment when they say, tomorrow we'll let 13 in, it's like, well, now I know.
Yeah,
we're going to see 13 tomorrow, and you see 13, and you know you're almost counting them off as they die. Whereas compare it to Magnificent Seven, one of the criticisms we had was when the shootout starts, it's just everyone fucking running in, guns blazing, horses racing around. You don't know who's been hit, what the stakes really are. Have they got a backup plan? Where they're coming from? There was
no stakes in that ending. It was just such a whimper of an ending, wasn't it, for the Magnificent Seven?
Yeah,
this did not work in. Like this, just everything was like, you had that whole thing in Magnificent Seven of them meeting Eli Wallach before they'd even started fighting, and it's like that totally like dampens any kind of like intensity.
I know,
and it's like but with this, it's like it's building. You know they're coming. You don't know when, and they even say like they would normally be here by now, but you know. That means that they're trying to catch us when we're being a bit comfortable with ourselves. And it's like, that's exactly what it is, because you don't know when it's going to happen.
That ran a bit of a shiver up my spine when that guy says, everyone seems to be in good spirits. It's hard to believe that they're around the corner, and the guy's like, this is exactly the time when they'll come.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, oh. And you know what's funny? One of my early criticisms of Seven Samurai was going to be, we're almost halfway through this film and I don't know who your big bad is. I haven't seen your one singular villain. And then, as you say, it doesn't matter, because by the end, it's not one singular, it's the collective. And actually, as much as I do like Eli Wallach's little performance in Magnificent Seven, if you had one leader of this group of bandits in Seven Samurai, it would all come down to beating this one guy. Just who's going to kill him. Because when you kill him, then you have a definitive hero, which is what you get in Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner. It's like, Yul Brynner's the main cowboy, and he kills Eli Wallach, so here's our hero. Whereas in this, a bunch of killing's done, and at the end, it feels like a fucking sad ending, mate. Don't feel happy, does it?
No, you've lost all your hero. It doesn't matter about the big bad guy, because there wasn't one. Yeah, as you said, there was one signifier for one of the leaders who had an eye patch, but it's like you're never looking out for him to be like, the battle's over as soon as he's gone. It's like, no, you're worried about the stakes because of these people that you've kind of been with for the whole film. Not caring about the enemy. You're caring about this intensity that's growing, and you don't want these you want these samurais to succeed and the villagers to succeed.
You do
from this situation,
and it helps. It does help that one of the villagers who you spend most of the time with is that man who always looks like he's on the verge of crying. He looks terrified at everything. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
His mouth is in a constant downward slope in the corners of his mouth. He looks horrified and terrified by everything.
And you know who that is? That was one of the greatest characters from The Bad Sleep Well.
Oh, shit. Who was he?
He was the guy, I can't remember what his name was. I'm going to get his name up now. So his Kamatara Fujiwara. And he was like the assistant. Do you remember he had like the grey hair, and he was like kind of going behind their backs? And I think he was like approaching an alleyway at some point, and he came off being the best character that we loved because of his like just his energy in that film. And it's like you wouldn't even think it's the same, but you'd feel like he's this older kind of old man guy in this. And this was made after The Bad Sleep Well was made after that film, but it's like he looks like a young guy in that film.
Yeah, he does.
That's range right there.
That is range. But see, like he was good, and the villagers were overall, and just everything, that establishing stuff when they're there and they're offering up their rice balls and people are being dismissive and they're like, don't you understand? They are literally giving you all they've got so they can eat this, whatever they were saying. Muckle. They kept using a term for a bit of food that's clearly meant to be shit. Muckle, something like that.
Yeah, I remember it was something like that, wasn't it?
And I enjoyed that recruitment. I enjoyed seeing them all getting and sitting in the barn, and you're going, okay, because you know, having seen Magnificent Seven as well, okay, this is the forming of the gang.
And how these people are really ridiculing these farmers all along. I don't know who they were, but they were like very rough looking people. But at the one point when they say, we found a samurai for you, where pretty much and it's like
they got caught up in it after all.
yeah. And it was what's his name? What's his name? Kikuchiyo.
Yeah.
And he's just drunk and off his face, and he's like, he's not even ready. And, and he's not even a samurai.
No, he's not. That's what's interesting about his character as well, because Kikuchiyo, you're following him when you're seeing Takashi Shimura's character do that first thing where he disguises himself as the priest, and he's like watching, and you're like, which one of you is the samurai recruitment here? I didn't understand, but then it quickly felt like, okay, this feels like he's meant to be the young guy from Magnificent Seven. But then they merged the personality of was it Charles Bronson's character? I can't remember which one it was.
Or the kids.
Yeah, they merged him in, but then they still kept another samurai doing the chopping of the wood.
Yeah, exactly. He got so many great little like attributes to his character. It just made him shine so much.
Yeah, it did.
Out of those seven, it was wonderful.
I liked him, but I tell you what, I'm not saying this is a criticism of the film, but I did find it harder to discern between, like, say, 3 or 4 of the samurai. So Kikuchiyo, obvious. The main leader, Shimada, obvious. The young guy, obvious. Then there
Katsushiro.
Were 4 others.
There was Seiji Miyaguchi, who's Kyuzo, who's the guy who basically is the one who's sleeping in Seven Samurai.
He's quite lean-faced as well.
Yes, and he is awesome. He's a great character as well. Yeah,
it's the other 3 who are all cool, but they're not clearly defined for me. But it didn't matter, because it almost made me feel like, well, just because Magnificent Seven has clearer characters, 7 distinct characters, doesn't mean all those characters are well crafted or that's a good thing. Like, normal people aren't like that. In a group of 7, you do just get a couple that are particularly memorable, and then the others who sort of are part of the crowd, but no less bring worth. It's just that some are more noticeable than others for various reasons.
Yeah, it wasn't in any way like I was set like, oh, these characters need to be fleshed out a little more. It's just a case of when one of them would die, I'd be like, oh, I'm not too sure which one that was, because they didn't flesh out that character enough for me to kind of have anything to attribute it to. But I know who they were.
They're two. When you stack up Magnificent Seven and Seven Samurai's recruitment drive, they're both enjoyable. I prefer Seven Samurais now because of how it resonates in the larger film. But that was also the best part of Magnificent Seven, and I will still give it its props for that.
Yeah.
What Magnificent Seven did there. I will still give Magnificent Seven the props for the Eli Wallach character, because I don't think the film was good enough for them to pull off a Seven Samurai and go, we're not even going to have a villain. Because
no, definitely not.
They needed a single hero to kill a single villain at the end, whereas this film didn't need that.
Mm-hmm. And they weren't all about like banding together with all these villagers. It needed to be a smaller band of villains to come and attack them.
Well, you know, the other thing that's very different, right, is here, these are all Japanese people.
Mm.
Whereas with Magnificent Seven, it's let's get in the Americans to help the Mexicans.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Because the Mexicans can't help themselves, and we're not going to fight alongside the Mexicans, so let's just go in and help them. Typical American mentality, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas this whole film, Seven Samurai, was the collective. It was all about the collective. We're all together. We'll all work together. We'll work as samurai, but we'll work with the town and embed ourselves in the town. And the layers were very, very rich, man. The fact that we got, you know, in Magnificent Seven, we got a throwaway line about, they're keeping their women up in the hills because of rape or something. Here, it's established multiple times in advance. The women have to be sent away because the samurai will come through and they'll rape them. It's established early. We get that, and then we see what happens when they encounter the women. We see the gravitas when that man sees that his daughter has been with one of the samurai, and even after all the samurai have done, he still finds it this great shame. There's a much bigger sense of honor behind the whole thing that's happening in Seven Samurai, which in Magnificent Seven is just fucking male machismo. That's what they replace honor with.
Absolutely. In Magnificent Seven, it is literally just a throwaway of, they're most likely going to rape our women, right? where in Seven Samurai, it is like established that this is an ongoing thing, that the villagers and the farmers, they just get destroyed. Whoever comes through the village, they're just stepped all over, so they have to defend themselves. So it's not a case of, we're just assuming these rowdy men are going to rape a woman. It's like, we just have to have our backs up because that's how we've been treated our whole lives.
Exactly.
So that is just the staple. We get rid of, the women can't be here.
No.
So it totally sets the table for that. So it
totally
works
does
100% better. Yeah.
And they did the thing of cut your hair so that you look like a boy. You know, you're developing traits that we still see to this day where that happens as well.
Yeah.
In order to hide and be preserved, you need to look like a boy. Didn't make no difference, did it?
No. She looked exactly like a woman as well.
Yeah. She very much did. What about... Well, I've got to tell you one sense of confusion that I had, which was... I'm still confused even now trying to recount it. They approached a barn to burn it so that people would run out of it so they could kill them. Was that the Seven Samurai doing that and burning out the bandits? Because there were women in there and they could see there were women in there.
And there was another very confusing thing about that as well. So from what I was getting was that the people came who were like scouting it out, right? They were like, remember they were looking through the fence and they had to hide from them.
Yes.
Did it happen after that?
I can't remember.
Because what I was assuming was, so they came, and because they killed them, they kind of could track them back to where they came from.
Oh, okay, right. Well, then that would make sense.
Yeah, and then that's why they burnt the barn now, because they think they can get rid of a whole load of these people beforehand. But then you had that very confusing moment about this one character who was constantly like distressed about any time someone mentioned his wife, and then when the wife came out, she ran back into the fire.
Yeah. So that's, see, this is what was all confusing me up until that moment, because at that moment I didn't know who that woman was. So I just thought, how can these be the Honourable Seven Samurai and they're burning this place down that have women in it? Because I thought the bandits didn't have women. That was what was confusing me. But then when she saw her husband and runs back in, it's like, oh, okay, she's been kidnapped by the bandits. But I assume she's become part of their, not through will of her own. She'll be like a bloody...
like Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah. Be forced to be a concubine. And she's running into the fire because to save her honour, she can't go back. She's been tainted by these people. Because she was almost like drugged and out of it when she was in the tent.
Yeah. I got the kind of impression that she was she was seeing the fire like happening, and then she was like, I'm not going to even raise my voice. I'm just going to let this happen. I'm going to let this place get engulfed by fire.
Yes,
just to take everyone out. That's the kind of impression I got.
That's heroism.
Yeah,
that's hardcore Japanese sacrifice, man. Having just a little detour for Shogun, that show is such an eye-opener about what Japanese culture was like hundreds of years ago, and how like the tenets that they believed in are still there in modern day. But the whole thing is no fear about death, because it's all one continuum, and death is just a means to other life going on. And if you need to make a sacrifice, it's done. It's just simply done. There's no emotion connected to it, because it's the preservation of something bigger than yourself, which is 100% the whole thing that I've got from Japanese cinema this year. It's hardly ever about the individual, which is what so many American films are about. The individual representing the whole, whereas Japanese film has been so much about preserve the collective, make sure Japan, the wider people, are okay, not yourself, which is probably why they don't spend as much time telling their personal tragedies in this film as they do in Magnificent Seven.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I never knew that.
The closest we get is Mifune when he grabs the baby from the water hut, and he's like, this was me, he's me, as that villager whose place was burnt out. That's the closest you get from any of them to revealing something about their past, isn't it?
I mean, that's all that storytelling. There's got to be outliers from like the collective, and he was definitely one of them. And always going against what everyone else did, but that's what made him so interesting.
Yeah,
that's why he was so lovable.
And he was that triangle. He was that little triangle on their banner that they made, which I thought was super cute.
Yeah, that was very cute.
6 circles in a triangle.
Just all laughing about him all the time.
How is that not the poster for the?
I know, great
for
poster.
The film?
Yeah.
Surely
think so,
that's on a steelbook, you would imagine.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, that's a great little
ironically, is what the poster is of the Bad Sleep Well. Do you remember? It's like an apartment block, and they've circled a window, and then there's an X through it.
Yes, that is what they bring to the wedding, isn't it? That picture.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
and yet here it was in Seven Samurai, as used as a plot device. Very nice, very sweet. I liked it when they raised the banner at the funeral. Very nice.
Yes, very, very, very good.
And then all of the battle stuff was good. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of stuff to talk about for the battle stuff other than to just admire it, really, for its time.
It's just very good way, like this strategizing, and you always know exactly what's happened because what's his name? Shimada is telling you, this is exactly how this is going to go, and he's always right. He's never wrong.
No,
he's always the smartest man in the room.
He's an old boy. He knows well.
Yeah, he is a great character. Yeah, wonderful as well. And it is just very, very enjoyable. Just seeing like these people being brought into the town trapped, and there's strategies of like, then you got to close off when people run in, you got to close them inside of the town so they're trapped in. And then it's brutal, man. When they're actually stabbing them, it's like, this is fucking horrendous.
There's many shots where they clearly go for the stab and they don't cut away.
Yeah, exactly. And at one point, there's someone will be like flailing on the floor, and like a group of about 6 of them will run up and just stab them repeatedly.
Yeah, I know.
And it's like, Jesus.
Quite satisfying.
Yeah.
I got to say, I did worry about the horses, because I was like, man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You would like to think that a lot of care was given, but how can it be in those sorts of settings?
I know. I know.
It just feels like, they're throwing things, like horses are running through, and there's men charging left, right, and centre. Things are getting thrown and whatnot. You can see things getting thrown at the horses and stuff, and you're like, oh. Speaking of horses, it's such a cliche, but it's so funny when Mifune runs through the barn on horseback, and then the horse comes out the other end without him. That is an American joke. That is, but it worked.
It worked very well. He's always the comic relief, isn't he? Some great little moments from him.
There was also this moment, weirdest and funniest moment in the film, is when the samurai are like gathering all the villagers, and they're like, so tomorrow we begin in earnest, so you better make use of your wives tonight. And everyone starts laughing, and there's loads of old women in the crowd. All of a sudden that are all laughing as well. It's like, sex jokes.
And they're the wives, maybe?
Yeah, they got to be, haven't they?
It's like, these men don't look that old.
I know.
Yeah, it's wonderful stuff. And there's that, and do you know, like, how we definitely got a handful of great lines from Magnificent Seven. There were some cool little lines.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say there was too many in this, but I picked out one which I thought was very good, and it's I'm pretty sure it's Shimada, and he says, "Bandits are coming, you fool. Your head is on the block, and all you can think about is your whiskers." And it's like, that is a great line.
That is a very good line. That is a very good line.
I think that might actually. Do you know what? I think it might have been the old man in the village now, because he's thinking about that's when he's thinking about all the women.
Yeah, all the women. Yeah.
That's what I think he said that line. Yeah, great little line though.
Yeah, very much so. I think, like, to its credit, the writing in this is brilliant, because the writing is more than just the dialogue. It's how what they say progresses the story, and then also the writing that of the actual story progression was all just so well done. I don't. I mean, if I'm being like, can't lie totally. If I'm being completely honest, as with Magnificent Seven, but on a far less scale, the battle is the least interesting part of the whole film for me.
Yeah, probably.
Even though it's done very well here, it's still the most least interesting. And because it's a longer film, the battle is much longer. Like Magnificent Seven, as we said, it was like a ridiculous 20-minute shootout and then done. Whereas here it's like a fucking hour broken up. And it's cool how it's constructed, so you know what's happening at any given time. And it's cool how he shoots the action sequence. All that is good. But overall, like, especially as time has now gone on with 70 years worth of developments, my appetite and my patience for that isn't what it might have been if I watched it in 1954. So I was a little bit like, let's just get to the end of the battle now. However, unlike Magnificent Seven, I didn't know who was going to survive, because I thought any of these samurai could go.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't necessarily think it was going to end like Magnificent Seven did. So I thought even leader of the pack is going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And ones go that you would not expect as well. Like Kikuchiyo, he goes, it's like, geez. And he just went.
He just went.
There was no big hurrah. He was just gone. That was it.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh man.
There you go.
That's just how it happens in real life. Yeah,
exactly.
And I think, as you were saying, with the battle scene, yes, it's not the most interesting part, because you just loved hearing the interaction between these characters. Whereas in Magnificent Seven, it's like you get to the town and it's like, okay, now what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly. Now what? Yeah.
Because nothing. It's like, get to the battle because nothing's happening.
I know. But they spun their wheels in Magnificent Seven once they got to the town. Whereas Seven Samurai, like you said, has all this stuff about integrating the villagers and bringing them into the fight alongside them.
Absolutely.
They decided for Magnificent Seven to make it a sort of like last chance saloon where they're all like talking about their own personal dilemmas up to that point and going on their little voyages for food and stuff like that. It just doesn't work.
It makes it all a personal journey, where this is like all about the collective in Seven Samurai, where it's all about their own egos and, I want the gold, it's the gold. It's like, this is their journey, this is what they're here for. It's not about just saving each other.
Exactly. And that's why it feels, even though it's a happy ending, it feels sad. So, actually, this is kind of what's interesting, right? Because Magnificent Seven, that ending is a traditional happy ending in that they've beat the bad guy. Mm-hmm. They say to the young kid, go and be with the women. And the two guys are like, well, off we go. And they ride the land because they've done their job. We know where we belong. We preserve life so you guys can live the good life. Happy ending. Actually, it's not. Whereas this one, at the end, same thing. They fought a hard-fought victory. They've lost people along the way. But at the end, they're sad about it. Yeah. Because they know that, like I was saying, life and death is hand in hand. It's not a victory. It's like they say, that victory's theirs. We lost this because we go out there, we still have no hopes. This is sad, and off they go. It's not heroic.
And I got to say, it's like that last visual of the samurais on the hill. How is that not the poster for the film?
With the swords, beautiful. With so the swords good. In the mounds. Yes. I agree, 100%. Beautiful.
So
image.
Good.
Beautiful
Such a beautiful image. Loved it.
Yeah. I would like a samurai sword. Just to hang above the telly. Just to hang above the telly. Yeah. I mean, there's a million things you could probably say about this film that we haven't touched on. It's hard because it's so big and sprawling. Lots of behind the scenes stuff, but if you want to check that out, you just go online and do that research. All I can say is, if I was Kurosawa, being real about it, yeah, because Kurosawa, we know, has said that he was happy with the remake. He's just being kind.
Yeah, of course.
It isn't an offensive remake. In some ways it is, but for the time, you hear Kurosawa's one's done so well in Japan, and you go, okay, let's transfer this to the West. Interesting premise. Okay, let's do it. And it works in a way, but it's just not, it's completely forgettable. I won't ever really think about Magnificent Seven, but Seven Samurai will stay in my mind.
Yeah, completely. It's just on another level, isn't it? And that's the thing. This is not in your everyday Seven Samurai, where Magnificent Seven is like, as we said, you could switch it on and I wouldn't even know what Western is.
Exactly.
Until you show me maybe one of the characters, and I'll be like, oh, I think that's Magnificent Seven.
I know.
It looks like it.
Yeah, exactly. And the ironic thing is, the good Westerns that started coming out, as far as I'm concerned, like there's that pre-Sergio Leone Western, which was like up to 1960, which was all the old John Wayne, Rio Bravo, all that Rio Lobos, and there's some value to some of them, but they're all much of a muchness. Those Sergio Leone ones that started coming out, the spaghetti Westerns, they were cool. They were a little bit edgier. They were a little bit darker, a little bit tougher, and thought outside the box a little bit. It's clear that when Kurosawa made this, he changed the fucking Western.
Absolutely.
Unintentionally, those who were making Westerns were like, now that's storytelling. That's how we need to shoot our conflicts and whatnot. And so they did. And Sergio Leone doesn't make any of his fucking Westerns without Kurosawa making this.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of debts that are owed.
I don't know how deluded I was, right, when I was thinking about going into this film, because I was like, in some way imagining what kind of Seven Samurai would look like, and as soon as it opens and all the bandits are on horses, I was like, oh, they're riding horses. Right. Why do I not think they'd be riding horses? It's literally like a Western.
Let me tell you, if that surprised you, imagine my surprise halfway through the fucking film when the gun goes off. I'm like, a gun?
Yeah.
Since when did I have guns? I thought we were doing fucking samurai swords all the way through.
Oh man, that was some wonderful stuff when they got to get hold of the guns though, and they have a little segment, especially when Kikucho goes off and he like pretends to be what so much better than Magnificent Seven when he's undercover.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
He's sitting there next to him. That works so much better, and he gets hold of the gun and then runs back into the village with all of them chasing him. And then you also get the wonderful one with what's his name, Kyuzo, the sleeping samurai. Yeah, and he just goes off in the night, and they're all like, "Oh, he must be dead." And then he just comes back holding the gun.
Back. I know. That is ice cool stuff.
That is cool, man. That's very cool. Yeah. And then it goes back to sleep.
I know. That is ice cool stuff.
Yeah, very good. I mean, it's very good.
I'm just looking here, by the way, just to double check. The poster for Seven Samurai is the 6 circles and the triangle.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay, cool.
I think we just never would have clocked that before because it's
that's it.
It means nothing to you. You know, like after you watch a film, you suddenly look at the film's poster and you're like, why didn't I look deeper into what that was before?
Yeah.
Because when you see a film poster, well, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the triangle's underneath the title. So it's like
triangle's
hidden.
Underneath.
Yeah.
Toshiro Mifune, I've never seen acting like this. I saw him in Yojimbo and Sanjuro last year, where he plays like a lone samurai, like gun for hire type who comes to town to battle the villains. Yojimbo was very, very good. Kurosawa as well. It was made about 5 or 6 years after this, and that's when he landed on my lap, and I was like, "Oh man, you're fucking good." really, really good actually, and a good follow-up film to watch after this. Sanjuro was okay. It wasn't quite as good, and that was Kurosawa as well, but still with him in it. Him working with Kurosawa must have been like De Niro working with Scorsese, because the two just came as a pair in so many. Like there's loads of films by the two of them that I haven't seen that are so highly rated. Redbeard, Throne of Blood, they're all on my watch list. I just haven't got around to them. The Hidden Fortress, they're all sprawling, no man. They're all like 2.5 to 3 hours. But he was such a compelling leading man.
Well, I can clearly like seeing now, like how diverse he is from this to Bad Sleep Well. It's like I'm really interested in seeing what else he's got in him.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I said in The Magnificent Seven, what I thought would be. What I was interested in seeing in this was how they were going to handle the sort of emotional states or the outlooks of life of the men, given that Japanese cinema is a lot colder when it comes to sharing of emotions. But actually, it works perfectly in this one because of the setting, because they do it through the collective. That's the difference. The Americans go, let's have the individual people spill their heart out. Ego, you said it, ego. Just reveal the ego.
Yes.
Whereas here, you learn about the men through their actions in the collective, and that's very beautiful.
That's it. You just see these. They don't have to do much. Like the leader Sanjuro. Is it Sanjuro? Did I say that?
Shimura, isn't it?
Shimura. So the leader Shimura, he just has this.
Yeah, Shimura is the actor's name. Fucking hell, it's mental.
So the leader Shimada. he just automatically has this kind of level of sweetness to him. Like he feels warm and approachable, and it's like straight away. That doesn't. There's none of that in Magnificent Seven. No. They all just feel like, we got to be stony faced kind of killer machines. That's what people want to see.
It's typical male machismo. You got to have a gun at your waist. You got to walk slowly. You got to look moody at everyone all the time. Drink your whiskey. Play your cards. Laugh about women. It's all about proving you're a man in that film. Whereas in this, none of them are like, here, let me wave my dick about and show you how much of a man I am. It's like, we got a job to do. We're going to this town.
Maybe Kiko Chio. He was one of those, but he's kind of revealed himself.
He was just an imp.
Yeah,
he was an impish one.
Yeah,
we didn't have no one. I thought, maybe in this film there's going to be a gold mine in the hills that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And that's going to be like a Easter egg for Magnificent Seven. No, it wasn't.
None of that.
Gave Magnificent Seven far too much credit for what it was trying to do with things like that in the last episode. How do you think our conversations would have been different had we watched this first and then watched Magnificent Seven?
Oh man, I feel like we would have been harder on Magnificent Seven.
Yeah,
in a way, it would have like paled too much in comparison. This was a good way to do it. Because I can still see like the kind of good stuff from Magnificent Seven. There still shines, but with this overshadowing it, I don't know if I would have gone into it a little bit more sour.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But still, I'm glad we did it in this order.
I'm glad we did, and we did get to. It didn't feel like just retreading the same ground. It felt a very different experience, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. And in some ways, it was like surprising how much actually translated to the Magnificent Seven. Like they moved over from this. It's like, wow, it is so much. They are very much mirror images themselves. There's just a lot better executions in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Much cooler. It game changing for what it's doing on so many levels. So enjoyable to just be immersed and in. Feels like you're in it, which is a hard task for a film set that long ago. Yeah, in a culture so different from ours as well. Like that's master filmmaking all round.
Yeah,
I feel terrible about what my score is going to be because all I've done is fucking praised it.
Well, we'll see what I mean. Let me just say, right, I need to highlight the stuff that I was not.
Okay, all right, that's a good segue. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question after this as well. So first of all, I did feel like it was a little bit too long. I got to the interlude. There's an interlude in this.
There is, yes.
And I was like, oh man, I've got like a whole nother film to watch.
Well, I mean, okay, so I'm on the same wavelength. I told you already. Like, I made it to about 2 hours on one day, and then I was like, I need to take a break.
Yeah, It was not that I wasn't enjoying it. It was just like, it's like,
too much in one.
It was too much in one setting, sitting.
Yeah.
And secondly, I don't know how much I really cared about the love interest. I feel like it was just as throwaway as it was in Magnificent Seven.
I agree.
It was a distraction away from what I wanted to see, especially when it comes to the end, and obviously like they go off and it's like, where's my daughter, and he's searching around, and you have the old altercation between finding out who the samurai who slept with her was. It's like, but it was kind of worth it for them to all be laughing about it after saying you become a man.
I know. I think it was more for me. I was seeing it more as it isn't a love story. It's about showing the challenge of the perception from the village folk, which was that samurai are like this, and this is what will happen if a samurai goes with our women, and then seeing what actually happens and learning that you aren't different. Like, you think they're these terrible people, but who you just need to call on in times of struggle. But how have you not seen from everything they've done in your village so far that they are with you? They are working with you. They're not these terrible people.
Yeah.
But yes, agreed, it's still a bit of a diversion sidetrack. However, you lose that side plot, that subplot, and then a new criticism could be levelled at the film, which is like, well, it's a very manly film. No women really in it. With any significance.
That's very true. It's very true, yeah. For sure. I do like the bit with Kikuchi when they're all helping out to farm the fields, and then he's like, runs up to that woman and he's like, oh, I'm going to help you, and then you like, I don't know what the words he said, but basically you can give me a bit afterwards. He just goes and does it really quickly.
He's hacking that straw down, hacking it down with his little scythe, isn't he?
It's like, she doesn't even have a choice. It's like, really, is this happening?
I know. He was a lot of good fun. Like, it was a great idea of Kurosawa to add the seventh with him in that sort of role. Sure. Because it would have been a very different film if you didn't have his character, because it would be a much sterner, more serious film. Yeah. It might be a harder one to endure, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so at this length, because a lot of the enjoyment for me comes from him. It adds that extra layer that
because he's in that setting.
Lighthearted. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He manoeuvres within that setting, which works. It's kind of like our access point as people who aren't from that culture, who aren't from that country, who don't have a real great understanding and in-depth knowledge of their customs and practices. To have someone who is a bit more playful walking in amongst it all is helpful.
Literally not part of their customs. No. He's not a samurai. So, you get that dynamic.
Yeah. What else you got negative?
That was it. That's all I got. That's all I got to say. What I wanted to ask you was, are you glad you didn't watch this at the cinema?
No. If I had seen this at the cinema, I feel I would have given it a slightly higher rating than what I'm about to give it. Because now having seen all of that, it is disappointing that I didn't see that on a big screen. And you can't often say that for a film that long ago.
Yeah.
So I do feel a bit bad that I didn't see this at the cinema.
That's fair enough, yeah. Well, I think I'm ready to rate it if you are.
Well, I am, and it's very strange for me to give it this rating, because having listened to myself talk all the way through, I'm like, why am I going to give it this rating at the end? And I was like, let me just give it the next one up. But I have to be true to how I felt watching it. And this is not a criticism, because it's a fucking great film. And I give great films 8s out of 10, and it gets an 8 out of 10 for me. For it to get that 9 or that 10, like, okay, if I'd seen it in the cinema, all in one, without being able to get away, probably 9 out of 10 if I'm being honest, because it's high-end 8. But it doesn't have that absolute blow-me-away significance on a personal level that I need. I need to really connect with it in a deep, deep way for it to get the 10. And for the 9, it's so close. It's so close, but
it's just feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, feeling. And maybe, again, it's because a lot of films have come out in the wake of what he did, so I feel a little conditioned to certain elements of it. But I'm trying to balance that out with respect for his game because he did it first, and I'm not taking anything away from him. In fact, I'm giving him more credit by giving him the 8 for it.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I'm absolutely mirror your thoughts. I feel exactly the same. Yeah, 8 out of 10 for me as well. And it was, yeah. I this is the thing. I feel like I could easily come back one day and be like, I need to watch that again.
Oh, definitely.
And it could elevate it.
Now, see,
but I always know when I finish a film, especially one of this length.
Yeah.
And if I don't feel like I need to watch it again ASAP, then I'm like, I don't think it's a 9.
Right.
I really think it's great, but I'm just like, I don't feel like I need to watch it anytime soon.
Mm.
And I know that's kind of a qualifier for me.
Yeah. But some of the films are so overwhelming that you don't, like when I saw The Irishman, I knew that was fucking perfect, but I'm like, I need a long break before seeing that again. Because you need to
feel it, man.
To sit with it.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
All right, well, that's good. So Kurosawa, 2 white boys from England have given their views and feelings and thoughts. We're the outliers, mate, because most people give it much higher than 8 out of 10.
They do. Like our fellow host Adam, who gives it a 9. So that's got to add into the mix as well.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, there you go. Give that a 9. So overall, our rating for that is 8.33.
It's a high one.
8.3. So we go to the first 8.33 on our list, which is the Full Monty. Oh, mate.
Oh,
I wasn't expecting that.
There you go. Full Monty's better for me.
It's not better for me. Because I'm much closer to giving this a 9 than I ever was for giving Full Monty. So, Adam, what did Adam give Full Monty?
It goes above. He didn't give Full Monty. You know he didn't give it a 9.
Oh, no, of course not. Okay, here we go.
It goes above.
Die Hard. It's much better than Die Hard.
I give Die Hard higher, and so does Adam. Actually, what does Adam give?
What does Adam give Die Hard? Let's see.
I bet he gives
what
it a 10.
What year did we watch it? 2022. He gives Die Hard a 9. So he would have to decide.
Okay, that's fine. We can let Adam decide that. Well, it's a high flyer. It deserves it.
Yeah, it does, and I'm glad to have cleared that blind spot.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. Great stuff. Well, should we tell people what we're going to be doing next? Because we kind of got to give people 2 options.
Yes.
Because we're going to return back to our 1978 round?
1978 round, yeah.
Yeah, and we're either going to be doing Adam's choice, if Adam joins us, or we're doing Kiss and the Phantom in the Park?
Phantom in the Park, something like that. It's the Kiss film. So any Kiss fans, get it seen, get it watched, because we will be doing it.
Kiss, is it called Kiss? The Kiss and... I'm not going to be able to find it, am I? What if I type in the park?
Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park.
Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park, yes.
Yeah.
So we're either doing that or Ben's option, which he's going to reveal right now.
Our true, interestingly, one of our dear listeners and patrons has already logged Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park and only logged it a few weeks ago, so clearly did it after Adam's suggestion. Yeah, it's Luke. It's Luke Human. He gives it 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. Half a star.
It could be
truly
low
awful.
One.
Truly awful, he says.
Shit.
Excellent. Thanks, Adam. Your much anticipated return to this podcast will be for that episode. But yeah, because Adam is such a busy boy, we need to have a backup in the event that he can't join us. We will go directly to my film first, and I'll let Adam know on the side. But my film, Paul, I already told you what it was, so I'm not going to long it out with clues. No, I'll long it out with clues for the listeners.
Yeah, go on. I can't remember what it was anyway.
Oh, good. Well, it ain't English language. We are
Lovely.
Not in the English language. We're not in Japan, but we're close. We're going to China.
Oh.
And we are going to see another group of fighters, combatants, folks get together and fight. And they will fight together collectively, known as the title of this movie, The Crippled Avengers. The Crippled Avengers.
Didn't remember.
Yes. Now, this is not a joke recommendation, folks. The title may sound like it. It's a highly rated film. Plot synopsis is: where the better man stays alive, a group of martial artists seek revenge after being crippled by Tu Tin To, a martial arts master, and his son. Gets very high rating.
Wow. This sounds interesting.
Seen it, and we've never seen it. And yeah, we checked that one out.
Wicked. I'm excited for that.
You can UK folks, you can just stream it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, wicked. Good to know.
Crippled Avengers.
Well, there you go. There's your two choices. We're going to be doing one of those. So either watch them both or wait till it's released, basically.
Exactly.
So that's the end of the episode. I guess we should just wrap this up and plug our wonderful patrons, shall we?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
So we got a wonderful patron at www.patreon.com/filmbusters. And we got some lovely people there. And you've become friends of them. Best friends with the likes of Luke Bennett.
Yes, you can. You can also join Francis Cibarini.
You can join Stephen Mark from Movie Drone.
You can join Brent from Home Video Hustle, who, coincidentally, I see is one of the few people who's checked in Crippled Avengers online.
Oh, lovely.
9 out of 10 from him.
Oh, shit. That's good to hear. Lovely. You can also join Mr. Luke Human, who hates Adam's pick of Kiss with Panda in the Park.
Indeed he does. You can also join Sean Panda Nicholson.
You can join Mr. Nerdrovert himself.
You can join Mr. Julio Oliveira from The Contrarians.
You can join Mr. Teach, Jamie Russell.
And you can join Katie and Oti from the For Your Reference podcast.
What beautiful, beautiful people.
Yes.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Go check out the Patreon. We're going to talk about our best Japanese films. See you over there.
See you over there.
Filmbusters.